definitely up until the age of 7 is for sure, all them ideas are someone else's idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ever heard it. It's somebody else's opinion. And more than likely, they were made to feel that way by the people around them in their environment, which then they've passed that on to you. And this is just a game of pass the trauma parcel. Welcome back to the Mystic Mind podcast. This episode is titled, You're Not Behind, You're Becoming. This is the illusion that we should be further ahead than we actually are. Everything is just the way it needs to be. You couldn't change it even if you really wanted to. It's actually just going to make it less of what you want. So to get into that, when you feel that you should be further ahead than you actually are, that is actually one of the most detrimental mindsets in modern personal growth. It's a massive hindrance, actually. When you can come to terms with you're exactly where you're meant to be, you're then in a state of ease that things naturally just happen through you and it becomes a lot more fluid. As soon as there's this trying and this want to be further ahead, it's actually a comparison that's putting us into our survival mode again. Social media distortion, like as soon as you see any glimpse of it on there, it triggers us straight into comparison of why someone's better or further ahead or done more by a certain age and why haven't we achieved that by this age. And obviously they're projections of my own coming out that might resonate with you, but they're the flags that come up in me. And it's very natural because on most social media platforms, the algorithms push forward the people that get the most views, which tend to be the most successful, attractive, best in their field, all of the above. So then out of this possibly 8 billion people we're up to right now, we're seeing a very small selection of each sect that we're then judging ourselves against, which is crazy because everybody has such a different set of circumstances to allow them to be where they are. You couldn't be any different if you actually tried. Like, there's a phrase that I heard a long time ago that sticks with me, and it's, I would do exactly what you would do if I was you. Right? So that takes you out of yourself and helps you put yourself in the shoes of another. So if I had all the exact conditions that you had, I had your parents, I was born in the same place, with the same financial background, with the same economic background, with the same religious, spiritual and financial beliefs, I would be exactly in the same position you are right now. Whether you think that's better or worse, that's your judgment. But I would be where you are and you would be where I am. So once you understand that, you couldn't have changed it if you wanted to. Our circumstances and our conditionings weren't our choice. Well, the ones that molded us definitely weren't. As we get older and we become more aware that our environment and our conditions are creating the way that we see the world, then we do have somewhat of a choice to decide what surrounds us and what creates us, which will therefore put us where we want to be rather than where we think we should be. So trying not to compare yourself to anybody is the best way to look at all this. You are a perfect version of yourself and you're exactly where you're meant to be. So when we feel that we should be further ahead by now, we should have achieved more, this kind of, I don't know, it's a midlife crisis kind of sound, isn't it? That, oh, time's running out and I should have done X, Y, and Z. But what that's actually doing is putting us in a survival mode of scarcity, that we haven't got enough, we're going to run out if we don't do it in time, we won't be good enough, or we will be rejected from the tribe, the group, the society, if we don't achieve as well as somebody else has. So what that actually does is shuts down our prefrontal cortex, which is the area of the brain that is set for forward planning, creativity, patience, all the ingredients that you actually need to move forward. So it's very much the double-edged sword, that the emotions that get kicked off from feeling like we're not good enough or not far enough ahead or comparing ourselves in any way actually makes it very detrimental for moving forward at all, which starts to create an actual backstep, which that, if there was any way of feeling like we weren't where we were meant to be and we weren't far enough ahead, that's it. The worry about it. See how cheeky that really is? It's like you were absolutely fine until you worried about it. The worry is the thing that takes you further back. So to do whatever we can to feel happy with where we're at is our game. And for instance, like, I'm very positive and I find the good in everything. Not instantly, but I do find it. So there is days where I will wake up feeling absolutely on top of the world. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I wouldn't want to be anybody else in any other time or place. And then there's other times where I wake up with doubts. And I feel like, am I the right person for what I'm doing? Am I going to get the outcome that I desire? Maybe if I was as good as this other person by now, or if I was a little bit further ahead in some way, maybe it'd be easier and things would have already flown together. And again, that's the detrimental thought. So that is the one that we need to fall away from, because it is just an illusion and it's just a fear pattern. And it's I see it as part of my old conditioning, because it's not who I am anymore. I really do not believe those things. But if there's a grain left of doubt, it will build up. It's like the grain of sand in the pearl shell. If it gets left there, it will create something quite large and noticeable, and it will niggle. So to be aware of them, these possible doubts, fears and worries, is what we actually need to do. We can't suppress them in any way. We have to let them out. It's completely fine, and we are completely safe to do so. But convincing ourselves that we are is part of the work. So I've been using a lot of meditation, breath work, and now hypnosis to get into the places in my mind that are holding on to these fears, doubts and worries, allowing me to release them. And most of this stuff, you'll find, is actually conditioned up to the age of around 7. This is where a lot of our fears, our worries, our insecurities, our feelings of lack and scarcity come from the environment we were brought up in. Our families, our communities, what they felt. So as you become a independent, sovereign adult, it's now your choice if you hold on to their old beliefs. You don't need to. There's no reason that you're holding on to them other than they made you believe that it was true. And if you don't believe that you are worthless and you are actually now good enough to deserve any life that you desire, that's your choice. And to allow anybody that power is grace. So I wish that for all of us. I wish that we're able to see our limitations, we're able to see our our doubts, our fears, our worries, our insecurities, and we can banish them. We don't have to allow them in anymore. They grasp on still. There's this part that, when I say like a grain of sand of it left, there's an old part of your conditioning that stays in. It's out of fear. It's an identity grasp. It's the ego trying to hold on to what it knows to believe that it is. So the ego has labelled itself over the years of I'm a person that is only capable of earning X. I'm a person that's only capable of being this happy, or being in a relationship that's this fulfilling, or having friends that are that caring, or you're limiting yourself at some point. And even if they're higher or lower, it's irrelevant. That these limitations are an imprint of our personality that the ego holds on to as an identity. And as that starts to slip, as you start to change, the ego gets worried because it doesn't know who it is. And it feels like it needs to have something that it can hold, and something that's tangible and permanent. See the snigger there, permanent. And nothing is. Nothing is. There's not one thing in this universe that is going to stay the same. So the more that we can understand that and let go and move into the version of ourselves that we want to be, we can let all that old snake skin go. They can all dry up and be turned to dust. It's absolutely fine. But as that little layer tries to get held onto, and you keep it in your crevice somewhere, that's going to build a sore. That's going to get infected. And eventually it can actually take you down. Even something very small. If that's what you focus on, that's what you create. So you could have 1,000 positive things in your life. You could have everything. You could have the best relationships, families, money sorted, all the best housing, everything safe, secure. You've got your own everything sorted. And you got one little niggle. One little thing, and you cannot stop thinking about it. Now, all that other stuff might not even be there, because all you can see is this one problem. Or the other way around. You could have 1,000 issues in your life, but you could have one thing that's going really well that you absolutely love. And the more that you focus on that, the rest might as well not even be there. Like that. So do not stress yourselves at all about feeling that you should have done more or should be further ahead. It's just a story. It's not true at all. You're exactly where you're meant to be, and there's no rush. There's no worry. And in my mindset, this is very much an eternal thing. Like, once we go out, we come back in. There's very much a cycle to the whole situation. So to rush it and feel that we need to be someone else or be somewhere else to be happy, it's a completely wasted emotion, wasted energy. When you could put that on to the things that you love, the things that you enjoy, and create more of those things. So it's a choice. When you see it that clearly, it is a choice. And it's really worth journaling a lot. Like, I love journaling now, and these little thoughts and these doubts that come up, it's fine. Let them be there. Acknowledge them. But don't focus on them. They're true. They exist. You can accept that. That's not a problem. The problem is sitting with it all day and making it real. It's not. It's something you were told to believe that is somebody else's idea. Which pretty much, definitely up until the age of 7 is for sure, all them ideas are someone else's idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ever heard it. It's somebody else's opinion. And more than likely, they were made to feel that way by the people around them in their environment, which then they've passed that on to you. And this is just a game of pass the trauma parcel. Or past the conditioning parcel, whatever you want to label it as. Maybe the parcel stops with you. That's a nice way of looking at it. Maybe once we're so aware of it and we realise that we've been passing this buck along all the time of these doubts and fears and worries, like, to your loved ones, to your siblings, nieces, nephews, children, the next generations, do you really want them to carry around the same traumas and worries as you did? So even if it's subconsciously and you don't realise that you're doing it, as soon as I notice that, maybe I become more conscious. And I'm not suppressing these things and handing them out for other people to take on and have a lifetime for them to now figure it through. So, yeah, maybe, my opinion, each to your own. Maybe the buck stops with me. Maybe I realise that I don't pass this forward anymore. And I would rather put a lot of my focus into making that the case than pretty much anything else. It seems like a lovely thing to actually put my energy into, that I could release a load of limiting beliefs, conditions and traumas to save my nieces and nephews having to take them off of me. Sounds like the last gift I want to give someone, actually. So yeah, maybe that resonates with you in some way. Maybe this is what helps us wake up a little bit, that when we realise that we're doing these things consciously or subconsciously, maybe it's not the best. So there's a phrase that pops into my head. Is there was a woman called Typhoid Mary, and she used to feed the homeless, and she didn't realise that she actually had typhoid. So unknown to her, she was actually poisoning everybody she was trying to help. So very much the same as when we've got these underlying subconscious conditions and traumas, that we think we're being there for our loved ones and giving them good advice, or are we actually just passing on our fears and worries for them now to have a lifetime of trouble to deal with? When that could just possibly be the case, that makes me want to sit with it on my own to understand it a lot deeper before sharing out any information that I think I have to help anybody. Yeah. So when we get into this worry about thinking we should be further ahead, or we're not good enough, or comparing ourselves to who we could be right now and what other people are doing, it activates 3 separate parts of the brain. And it's actually the same area of the brain that gets triggered from physical pain. So just feeling like we're not good enough actually puts us in that state of not just survival, of actually feeling hurt. And this makes cortisol rise. And then we enter scarcity mode, like we're not going to have enough if we're not where we should be by now, and all these worries, which is, I say, that's what turns off the frontal cortex and stops us having this forward planning, creativity and the mindset to be able to move forward in a conductive fashion. So that it causes a problem of, you could have been in creation and figuring out these issues. Instead, you're now in survival and you're worrying and you're really unproductive, actually. You're just in a fearful mind state. And you could have been in like a flowy, really natural, everything's coming to me state. Instead, you're now trying to force things to happen. And this forcing, again, is you really trying. And when you're really trying, you're worried that you're not going to get it done unless you put extra effort in, which is coming from fear again. So it's just really detrimental. As soon as we compare and as soon as we think we should be somewhere other than where we are right now, it's giving us a backward step. We think we're stepping forward, but we're definitely taking 2 steps back. So even when it comes to like healing spiritually, mentally, physically, when we feel like we should be further ahead, like in our processes of any of those, that stops us being able to do the healing and progress, because once that triggers us into that survival mode, all of our energy just gets put on running, fighting, or freezing. And none of that energy can now be used for healing or understanding the situation that we're in and how to get out of it and how to move forward correctly. So it's a backward step for anything that we're trying to achieve. As soon as we're not happy with where we are and we think it should be something other than what it is, you're allowed to be unhappy. That's not a problem. If that's an emotion that comes up and you're not happy with something, yeah, that's normal. You're not going to always be happy, of course not. That's impossible. But to then focus on the thing that's making you unhappy and then start to judge yourself about it, this is just really starting to unwind it and go backwards. It could just be something you're unhappy with, or it could be something that completely destroys your day because you can't stop thinking about it. It's that difference. And yeah, don't let it eat you up. Don't make it a big deal. Everything is actually neutral, and it's just our perspective that puts our opinion on it. So everything can be seen from a completely different angle, different perspective, or a different zoom lens, and it'll mean something completely different. Completely. No matter what it is that you actually feel like you're facing, like you think it's a good or a bad thing, even if it's grief of that you've lost a loved one, or you've lost a job, or something in your life has really dramatically happened and changed, or you've seen someone go through a really heavy trauma or something really heavy. If you were to be able to see that from a different lens point, like if you'd be able to zoom out and see the entire picture of how things intermingle and fit together, there is a reason and there is a purpose for everything. It all does fit into some strange play that we've made here. Like, you don't have yin without yang. You don't have dark without light. You don't have suffering without bliss. You don't have love without hate or fear. They are all balanced off of each other. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to label anything at all. You'd need an opposite or things around it to understand what it is. So it's a very strange concept to see in the moment, but if you were to zoom out far enough and see it from a different perspective in a different picture, it does fit in some really strange sense. Like, I was on a beautiful retreat recently with some friends, absolutely lovely, a woodland retreat, and a poor little baby bird come falling out of a tree, and one of the girls picked it up and was kind of trying to nurse it, and it didn't look very good, like it broke a wing or something and it wasn't going to survive. And she was just trying to be good with it and just said, I can't keep hold of it, I'm going to put it down somewhere. And in the area we're in, there's 7 cats living with them, and one of the little cats, is baby cat, not quite a kitten, but a baby cat, got hold of it and ate it pretty quickly. And they were very upset that, oh no, the bird got eaten, and but at the same time, that's natural. Cats got to eat. You don't think about it like that, you just eat food. Something moving, I can eat it. So if you were to see a wildlife documentary, you know, when you follow the life of a deer, the deer's had some young, and you've watched it for a while, and it's beautiful and it's majestic, and one day it's out with it's gone and left its young, and it's out on its own looking for food, and it gets killed by a lion. Now you're emotionally involved, that you feel that it's a problem that the deer has been eaten, and it looks brutal because it's very dramatic and bloody and all that stuff, of course, yes. But you're very attached to it because you've seen the emotional connection with its young, and you've seen it grow up and move through this life stage. But at the same time, if you were to now watch that documentary from the view of the lion, be a lioness, of course, but this lioness, say, has had her cubs with her, and she's struggling for food. She hasn't eaten for months. And you've been watching this documentary every day, and you're getting really worried for her that she keeps going out to try and hunt. She's getting injured and coming back with injuries and no food and becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And those lions in the area are actually about to become extinct. They are under threat. So if she dies and her cubs die, it might be a really bad thing for lions actually surviving in the area at all. So you're like, oh God, it's really important that she finally catches some food. And then that day you see her go out and she catches that deer that's also trying to protect its young. But there's many deers in the area and they're not going to become extinct. So therefore, all of a sudden your perspective would change, where you're like, oh, poor deer. And you'll be like, oh no, great for the lion. So there is very much perspective that needs to be seen in a lot of ways that might not be quite the way we look at it. And that's okay. So you don't need to be any further ahead. You don't. You need to be more aligned with where you are right now. If you can be in harmony with what is, even if that what is, if you're not happy, doesn't mean that you should be happy, if that makes sense. Just because you're in that stage right now, it's maybe something you need to experience, and that is the right place to be. And everything rolls in seasons, and let's say we need polarity of certain emotions and situations to understand the opposite of it. So going through growing pains and going through situations that are challenging are teaching us stuff. And like I say, we can't always be in happiness and always be in bliss, otherwise we wouldn't know what it is. So it's very natural to have to go through emotions and situations that we don't like. It's just about not focusing on them and not thinking that is all that's going to be from now on. It's still got plenty of chance for it to mold and change into something completely different. So when you're going through struggles, remember, like them struggle years, months, or whatever it might be, like that's building resilience. Like you'll become stronger from it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Even bone fractures and breaks become stronger, like with kickboxers and stuff. Micro fractures, got legs of iron. So then, like the lonely years as well, like when you feel like you've spent a lot of time alone, out of choice or not, it naturally builds self-trust. You get to learn yourself a lot deeper and understand yourself on a much more intimate level. So it might look like one thing, but maybe it's teaching you something very valuable. And then quiet years as well, where you feel that nothing's really happening and things aren't moving forward. It's building depth. It's cultivating the roots of your seeds. So sometimes that takes quite a long while for roots to take hold. So like the bamboo tree, it grows roots for years, doesn't really even show anything at all. And then all of a sudden, it can just grow 90 feet in a matter of weeks, just shoot straight up. So when you think them quiet years are there and you haven't seen any progress or anything like that, like, have faith. You need to build roots and foundations first if you want to build something substantial that's going to stand the test of time and be resilient through storms and weathers. Which means you have to be quite flexible as well. You can't just feel that you're driving this way and I'm going to just stay strong and hard and it's going to be like this, because that's very rigid mindset. You've got to be allowed to have off days and allow things to be what they are and allow things to change, because like a rigid tree in a strong wind will snap. But again, like the bamboo, something that's actually strong is strong and flexible. It will not snap. It will bend. So those quiet years, they can be used for many reasons. Like, I've actually chose to be on my own for quite a while now, romantically and even relationally with friends. I've kind of separated myself to allow me to really understand myself deeper, because externalizing your validation onto other people isn't very healthy in many ways. It's very much something I'd like to do alone to understand my own self-worth, and I think it's very necessary. So it's built me into the person that I now feel deserves the level of depth in a relationship that I actually desire. I feel prior to this stage, I was not understanding myself on the deepest levels, and I would have been externalizing my validation onto the partner in the relationship or the friendship to make me feel worthy. And that is not someone I want to be. And that is very codependent, which is a very normal thing in society. It's become the norm to need someone to fulfill you. And that, again, that's coming from a place of lack. Like, subtle as it may seem, like my other half, and how romantic that sounds, like, you should be whole on your own. You shouldn't need anybody for anything. It should just be nice to be with people. It's nice to have friends, it's nice to have a relationship, but needing that is coming from lack. It's actually coming from fear and survival mode again. So you're not in your full creativity, you're not in your full flow, and you will always then be externalizing your validation onto the other person. But rather than just repeating the same phrase, there's actually a neuroscience study done on people that have lost a relationship, a loved one, and grieving. So someone's died or they've had a breakup. The chemistry that's happening in the mind at that time is exactly the same as someone going through a drug withdrawal. So what's been happening over all those years of this codependency, you are actually dependent on the other person to release the chemistry inside of you to make you happy. So even with pets, friends, TVs, any way of releasing, say, dopamine, so interactions with people, gaming, all these different things, they are externalizing your well-being. So you now have to have the interaction with the person, you have to have the kiss, the cuddle, the acknowledgement, the joke, the laugh with the person to release the good chemicals out of you. And then when you don't see people, you go through this lull of depression, which is a drug withdrawal. And once I realised that, that was a key factor for me, saying, right, I'm never going to do that to anybody else and have to need them to make me feel whole. I will do this on my own. And it takes, they say, around 6 weeks to be fully alone to reset your chemistry. And then at that point, you release it on your own, just doing normal tasks. So it'll be the simple things of just, you're alone, doing whatever, you're cleaning up, you're having a little tidy, you go for a walk, whatever. These small things start releasing the same amount of dopamine and oxytocin, endorphins, what you would get from interactions in a relationship. So you're now actually in a relationship with your reality, which is a much more sovereign angle than needing other people to make you feel worthy. So that will actually limit the need for any of this externalization. So you will never feel not good enough, And you won't put yourself into this comparison of, oh, I need them to approve of me. If not, I'm not good enough and they're going to find someone else. And no, I'm absolutely fine as I am. Not a problem at all. I love being alone. It's great. It's really peaceful. And I get what I need. It's beautiful. So I find that when people find that place, you become this whole being where you are fulfilled all the time. And then to see people is a joy, it's a bliss, it's great, it's the cherry on the cake. It's not the egg that binds the mix. I bind my own mix. So the real problem isn't about being behind. It's more of an issue of impatience. It's the ego trying to externalize this validation. It's just in hunger all the time to get more and try and make itself feel better. And when you regulate your chemistry on your own and you find this place, it's unnecessary and it can't grasp hold of you anymore. So try reframe this, right? When the thought comes up, when you think you're behind, right? Any thought of I should have been further by now, I could have been doing this instead. Try replace it with I'm building, I'm cultivating, I'm preparing. This is a much easier framing than thinking it should be something else. No, there's other work that's going on that's actually preparing me to do the best that I can do. And I have to do it in exactly my way because I have my conditions and I was brought up in my environment with my beliefs. So I have to do it exactly my way, and that is perfectly how I'm doing it right now. It might look weird because the mind's grabbing onto, look, he's doing it different. They're doing more. They're doing less. Whatever. Who cares? They're not you. What you're doing is exactly what you're meant to do. Just stick with that. So, to end on a nice analogy, life flows through you naturally. All the good ideas, all the positivity, all the creativity, all the love and connection just is. That's just the way it is. It's there all the time. It just wants to flow through us. But when we get this worry, this fear, this doubt of feeling we're not good enough or we should be further ahead or comparing ourselves to others, that starts to constrict the mind, which, as I've used before, we are the hose. We are a hose pipe that is trying to let this flow of creativity through us, which will help us forward plan and figure out any issues that come up in our lives. But as soon as we start to worry, doubt and fear, we start to worry and constrict. We're trying to force things and trying to make it something that it just isn't. That squeezes this hose pipe. And as we squeeze the hose pipe, we constrict the flow, when it could have just naturally passed through us the way that it needs to. But instead, we've now blocked that flow. So to allow things to flow as they naturally need to, release the grip. Relax the mind and allow it to flow naturally. Thank you very much for your time, and I really enjoyed sharing that with you today. I hope you have some takeaways for it and it's able to help some people and help you see things a little clearer maybe. There's a lot of subconscious things that have to come to light for us to be able to play with them, so hopefully it's triggered a little something and planted a seed, if not anyway. So thank you very much. Wish you all a lovely day. Ciao.